Hey buds, how's it going? I am MC, and in today's video, I'm doing a little tour of some old sketchbooks. I'm not an artist that has a great collection of old sketchbooks. I feel like you see a lot of artists that have stacks and stacks of their old work, but I am more one of those artists that is kind of a chronic starter and stopper of sketchbooks. So I have a bunch of sketchbooks that have 1 or 2 pages done, and then I thought of a different direction that I wanted to go in with the sketchbook, so I start a new one. But I have 3 sketchbooks here that have a decent amount of work done in them, and I went through them recently and realized that they are actually a pretty good illustration, no pun intended, of how I've developed as an illustrator or an artist. So I've done a lot of talking about how I've developed the style that I like to draw in now, and I'd really like to go through these sketchbooks now, and you can kind of see the progress I've made and the steps I took to get where I am today. So a bit of a content warning. I was in college when I did these, so I was a late teenager or in my early 20s, so there is probably some cringy stuff that's about to come up, but you know, I was a kid, we were all cringy. I'm probably still cringy now, it's fine. But yeah, I think we'll keep the intro short and sweet, and I'll just get into showing you some of my old work. So starting off with my smallest and oldest of all of the sketchbooks, obviously the front cover of this one ripped off, but I'm pretty sure this was one of the small Strathmore sketch pads. But very luckily, I actually dated the first ever drawing in this sketchbook. So the end of 2023 is what we're working with. I think I got this sketchbook for Christmas of that year, but this would have been my first year of college when I was taking my first ever art classes. So yeah, this really is the beginning of me learning how to draw, learning how I wanted to draw. And yeah, this really horribly messed up drawing on the front, I think, was supposed to be a butterfly on fire. Don't know what I was thinking. It's not great, but yeah, let's get into it anyway. This is a really horrible drawing I did of Catwoman dressed up as a queen. I don't know why I wanted to draw Catwoman as a queen, but I really liked Catwoman when I was in college, and she's still my favorite comic book character ever. But yeah, really horrible drawing of Catwoman to start. This was me, I think, trying to draw a superhero. I don't know what came first, if the project that I had to draw a superhero came first, or if I just drew a superhero and did a version of that for this project that I got, but this did end up being a bigger drawing, I remember. And I think here I was mainly trying to practice cross-hatching, which I hate cross-hatching and I never do it now, and I think I learned pretty quickly in college that it just was not an art style that I was good at, and it wasn't one that I wanted to continue trying to get good at. So this might be one of the only cross-hatching drawings in these sketchbooks, but I think you'll kind of see as I develop through my style that I was definitely trying to implement my own version of that kind of shading. But yeah, it's just never really worked out for me. I don't think I'm very good at it. And yeah. With these next few, I definitely went through this phase where I was really obsessed with drawing chameleons. I just thought they were really cool animals, and yeah, so I think I've got a couple chameleon drawings coming up here. This one I had obviously gotten sick of drawing chameleons by the time I got to this one, so this poor guy never got finished. But yeah, really enjoyed drawing chameleons. And chameleon is actually in my prompt jar now. So I would like to take another swing at drawing a chameleon now and see how I do it. So the drawings that I did in this style, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to show, because if I'm being completely honest, what is this? I really hate it. But I kind of think it's a good example of how far I came in trying to draw like original characters or people from my own imagination rather than drawing entirely from reference. And so yeah, I'm gonna show a few of these, even though I really hate them. I don't know what's going on. I think he's biting his lip, and it's just absolutely a horrible representation of that. Yeah, I don't want to on myself too much for these, but like the eyes, no, the face shape, no. The only thing I can really say positively about these guys are like the hands. I think I drew the hands in kind of an interesting way. I have very distinctive, long, spindly fingers, so I think all of my drawings kind of end up with that because obviously that's what I have to reference all day, every day. And I'm okay with that. And I think this is kind of reminiscent of that, but we'll see it get better in the future for sure. Here is a more feminine depiction of one of these horrible drawings. Again, don't want to take too much time on it, don't want to on it too much, but really don't like this one. The noses are also crazy as I'm looking at them now. Like, where is the nose? What was I going for with these noses? Just non-existent, I guess. I really hate the eyes. There's something really freaky about the eyes. They look like Bratz dolls. Yeah, freaky. Don't like these guys. This one is actually a concept I don't hate. Again, don't love the style. Kind of like the hand on this one, actually. I think the movement I got on the hand is kind of cool. But the concept I don't hate. I kind of like the splatter pattern that's coming out of this one. The blam I would probably do in a more interesting font now, but this is something I could see myself potentially trying to recreate even now, or having a similar idea to this now. But maybe it would be an interesting idea to redo this drawing, how I would do it now, and we'll see how it comes out. Not perfect, but better than the other ones. The nose is still freaking crazy, but yeah. This one I think is probably getting some of the same treatment as the Chameleons, where I obviously meant to draw 3 characters here, but I was probably getting sick of drawing in this style. I feel like certain things are getting better, like even, what is the top of this, like the crown of her head, just flat. You could rest a drink on the top of these characters' heads. But certain things I think are maybe improving. A little bit of the shading's better. I think I'm improving slowly on the hands. This vest isn't horrible at all that I drew her in. But yeah, still not great. The eyes still friggin' freak me out. Here's another one of these guys. This one, man, what a weird drawing. I don't even know where to start with this one. This was so like early 2010s hipster nonsense. And here I actually took a step back. The hands are awful in this one. There might be some other things that are slightly improved, but yeah, the hands are awful in this one. This is where I think I had decided that I really wanted to lean into realism and get better at drawing people. So this is obviously a very unfinished drawing of the Canadian tennis player, Jeannie Bouchard. This is where I stopped with the character design and really decided that I just kind of wanted to learn how people were actually drawn. And I think that was a good choice because I think it really helped me along the way with my character design and actually understanding how features were drawn, because I think you can tell by the noses and the eyes and the tops of the heads that I had no idea what I was doing. But yeah, so this is where we're gonna lean more into the portraiture side of my work. And it starts with Rob Gronkowski. Rob Gronkowski is my favorite football player of all time. I have his New England jersey and his Tampa jersey. I think he's the greatest tight end of all time, especially if you're talking about well-rounded tight ends. But yeah, I don't hate this drawing. I think it is a pretty good start to me trying something new. But yeah. Next one we've got is Demi Lovato, and definitely looks like Demi Lovato. I don't know what was up with me not caring about the shading. Maybe I was just kind of very loosely trying to get these guys in there and just trying to draw. Kind of surprises me that I wouldn't have tried to do any shading though, but yeah, it's not horrible, not too exciting. Next up is Beyonce. And I remember actually drawing this when I was in college and thinking that it absolutely did not look like Beyonce, and I really didn't like this drawing. But looking back at it now, if it didn't say her name, like, I think I would know exactly who that was. I don't think this is as bad as I did when I was in college. I was definitely way more critical of it than I am now. But yeah, I'd give myself some grace on this one. Definitely more grace than I gave when I was actually in college. But yeah, This next one is a drawing of Summer and Winter Olympian Clara Hughes. She was a speed skater in the Winter Olympics, and I think she was a cyclist in the Summer Olympics. But she's one of the most decorated Canadian Olympians of all time. But yeah, I guess this is where I kind of tried to focus in more on shading. This is the first one we've got that's got quite a bit of shading work done, and maybe this is where I started to try and focus on doing a little bit more finished portraits. But yeah, not the best, not the worst. Next, we've got Tom Brady. And honestly, I don't really know why I drew Tom Brady. He was never one of my favorite Patriots, surprisingly. I always liked Gronk or Edelman or Amendola. Yeah, I don't know. He was never one of my favorites, so I'm not really sure what possessed me to draw this. I guess just because he was the quarterback of the team I cheered for. But yeah, Tom Brady. So this was a very quick life drawing I did of my anthropology teacher in college. And I was just always very intrigued by the way he looked, because I thought he looked like a Greek philosopher or something like that. But he was very cool. I thought he was a very good teacher. I really liked his class. So I drew him quickly one day. We've got another drawing of Gronk here. But I think this is very interesting because this is actually me trying to do the style that I draw in now. And it looks like this is kind of the direction I was always trying to go in. And obviously this just isn't very good. And I couldn't really figure out how many hard lines I wanted to do with what details and stuff like that. But yeah, I think this is an interesting, like, fortune-telling drawing, kind of, for a lack of a better term. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but yeah. This one is of me making a weird face and scrunching up my nose, and this one you can really see how I've really started to improve at, like, life drawing, and this is a big step, actually. I'm very surprised by this one. You can even see here, when I was a little kid, I fell off my bike and had my tooth go through my lip, and I even put my scar in there that I still have now. But yeah, the shading from the last few drawings is very impressive in this one. I have to think I wasn't trying in the last few ones to shade, because this feels like a very big leap. It's obvious, like, I could do better now, but like, for the time, this is pretty good. Here we have an unfinished drawing of Louis Armstrong. This is a style that I was playing with for a little while, and I think I have a more finished drawing along these lines in one of my next sketchbooks, but yeah, this was kind of just a creepy style I was messing around with, and I don't know, like a cutesy horror look, I guess, that was inspired by like Rococo fashion and stuff like that. This, I really like this guy, actually. This is in the same style as the last drawing. It was supposed to be a version of a dog in the same style, and I can't remember who the composer was, but there was a composer that used to play all of his music for his dog, and if his dog liked it, he thought it was good, and if his dog didn't like it, he would throw it away. And so I drew this dog like covering its ears and like miserable, having to listen to his master's music. If you know what composer that was, put it in the comments below. I should look it up, but I remember what I wanted that drawing to look like, and I do really like the concept, but I just never got around to it. But this little dog is silly looking, and I like him. And this one is the last one in this sketchbook, an unfinished drawing of Austin Matthews, and it's bad. This does not look like Austin Matthews. I think this was after the Chicago game, after he scored and put his hand to his ear to the crowd, and then immediately after Patrick Kane scored and did the same thing to make fun of him. The Leafs did at least end up winning that game. But here I'm obviously playing with some sort of style, but I just, for good reason, did not like this drawing at all and never ended up finishing it. So I don't really know what style I was kind of trying to play with here, but yeah, that's it for this sketchbook. Alright, so this next sketchbook is one that I would have started very soon after college. So unlike the other one where we're going through it and I'm learning to draw as I go basically, this one was done after I had taken a bunch of art classes, so hopefully we're about to see a lot of improvement. Starting off with a few loose pages, I had a friend who was a goalie on my hockey teams for a lot of years, and she really liked Stitch, so she asked me to draw Stitch as a hockey goalie. And I think I ended up putting this sketch through Photoshop or something and digitally painting it when I was trying to do digital art. And I think I made him a Vancouver Canucks goalie because that was her team. This one goes back to what I was talking about in the last sketchbook of the creepy Rococo style that I was playing with. This is the original drawing that I did, but there are a lot of things I like about this drawing, and unfortunately I don't know that I'll ever have the time to go back and try and refine it, but if I did, I would definitely like to play with this some more. There are obviously some things I can improve, and thinking back to the ideas for the drawings I had to do in this style, I still really like them. Yeah, if I had time, this is definitely something I would try and play with more. And on the back here, in some scribbled notes, I wrote down Richard Wagner and Peps. And so I think that's the composer that I was talking about playing all his music for his dog. So yeah, I got my answer to my own question in my scribbly little notes for this one. This next one is just a realistic portrait I did of Katie McGrath. Starting with this study sheet here and going over the last sketchbook and how much I hated the noses in that sketchbook, I think I really needed this study sheet, and they're definitely much better than those weird illustrative non-noses that I did in the last sketchbook. And we've got the same sort of thing with this page. I remember with this one, I was just kind of really interested in the fact that I found that everybody kind of holds their phone differently in like a mirror selfie. So I just went through Instagram and I found a bunch of people's hands and the different ways that they were holding their phones. So this sheet is filled with a bunch of different hand postures and old iPhones. This is just a very random, unfinished page. Got a kid here. I was still obviously very stuck on the flat dome of the head for some reason, but he's missing his two front teeth. And then these two little guys are squishy-faced little dogs that are playing a bass-like instrument. So there's a pug playing an electric bass, and then I think this guy was going to be an English bulldog playing a stand-up bass. And they're so tiny. I can't believe how tiny I used to draw in these sketchbooks. This is a portrait I did of the singer Sam Cooke, and I think this is a really good portrait on a base level. The only thing I don't really like is the tea stain ring around it. I don't know why I did that. I think I was trying to go for something like stylistically that just doesn't make any sense. But other than that, I think the drawing is pretty good. I still really love drawing smoke, and this is a portrait that I've thought about going back to and drawing in my current style that I work in now. But yeah, next, this is just a little Cocker Spaniel like dog that I drew that I thought was really cute. And then this one, I think I was sitting across the room from my grandpa and just kind of decided that I would try and do a life drawing. I always thought I was kind of weak at life drawing, so this was actually pretty impressive. I think it kind of looks like my grandpa, even though it's very not finished. Here we have a big, very much falling apart and yellowing for some reason spread of a couple scenes from the live action Cinderella that Disney came out with in like 2015 or something like that. But I really loved that movie. I thought it was a really, really great remake. I thought they did a really good job of making the character of Cinderella not helpless like she is in the original. And I thought Lily James was just an excellent Disney princess. So yeah, I did this big spread. Here are some more mini portraits. I drew the guy from Cinderella, whose name I cannot think of right now. Another drawing of Katie McGrath, and a portrait of Victoria Azarenka, who I was a pretty big fan of. She was a lot of fun when she was dancing around the tennis court and dating Red Foo from LMFAO, but now I think she's pretty questionable politically about the Russian invasion of the Ukraine. So definitely not one of my favorites anymore, but yeah. Here we have some figure studies. This is Rob Gronkowski's arm, and I was very focused on just doing some practice with some muscle definition in this one. And this one is of Tovlo. She wore these weed leaf shaped pasties at a concert or something like that. And I don't know, I just love Tovlo. I love anything she does. So I did a little figure study of that, obviously. These are some dinosaur bones I think I drew for work at the time, and I really love them. I think this is another drawing that you can see is kind of me building up to how I draw now. And yeah, the hard line, the very liney sketchwork that I did, I think it really makes that Tyrannosaurus Rex skull pop. I think this is really cool. This one is actually a page that is extremely yellow now. I don't know why, but it's a page that I pulled out of that mini Strathmore sketchbook. And this is a realistic portrait that I did of Tovlo. And like all the other ones, it's another one that I consider all the time redrawing in the style that I draw now. And I really love it. I love the posture. I love the facial expression. More drawings that I did for work. There's a little baby dinosaur and a little baby flamingo. And then here, I really hate drawing hair and I really struggle with it, but for some reason, there was one day I sat down and I just started scribbling in this shape, and it ended up looking like a really good high bun hairstyle. This ear is absolutely crazy. But yeah, I think honestly, that's some of the best hair that I've ever drawn. And this one is the last drawing that I would have done in this sketchbook. So it made it all the way to the end-ish of 2018. And this being done on October 1st was definitely me attempting to do some version of Inktober. I don't know that I'd ever do Inktober just because I'm not a super like spooky season person. But I did have the idea of trying to draw every day in pen or marker, which I don't do, or I didn't do at the time very often. And I was just gonna do a little drawing inspired by a song lyric. So I Adored You, Then I Ignored You is a song from Sarah Harmer's song Oleander, which now I have an oleander tattooed on my hand. And if you don't know who she is, Sarah Harmer is a small Canadian music artist that I've loved for as long as I can remember. And actually, if you've ever wondered what the CD that sits on my desk is, it's a Sarah Harmer CD with my first ever concert ticket stub in it. But the only thing I actually remember about that show was Sarah Harmer singing the song Oleander. And it's a really lovely song about her basically forgetting to water her oleander plant and then trying to go back to it and bring it back to life. And it's a really good like metaphor for a relationship that you neglected. But yeah, all I remember from that show is her bringing out this oleander plant and singing the song Oleander to it. But yeah, I guess we can move on to the next sketchbook. So this last sketchbook I would have worked on during COVID, and this is really where you can see me start to experiment with transitioning the realism that I was drawing in to the harder line style that I do now. That's still very much realism, but yeah, just a little bit more my own. Starting with these two characters that I just drew for fun. I do like this drawing. I think it's very queer, but yeah, very simply just two friends dancing to some music, playing with original character design, and yeah, I think it's cute. Up here is Prison Mike. My unfinished idea for this was to draw his profile, and on his shoulder he would have like a heart with all his girlfriends' names on it, so like Carol, Jan, Holly, and Carol and Jan would obviously be scratched out, but Holly would stay there. But yeah, like so many other things in this book, never got finished. another drawing of Tovlo and some Tovlo lyrics with a little fire escape. This drawing up here was actually inspired by watching the glass blowing competition show Blown Away and the glass artist Deborah. I really love them and their work. I think they were such an entertaining character and an amazing artist on that show. But on one of the episodes, they do a glass sculpture of some old sprouting potatoes, and I really loved that. So I wanted to draw some old sprouting potatoes. And then underneath it, I wrote, "It's been many years since I had such an exemplary vegetable," which is what Mr. Collins says to the girls in Pride and Prejudice when he's trying to compliment them and the cooking, and he's talking about potatoes. So I wrote that quote down there. And then this is another drawing where I was experimenting with some character design, and this girl here is probably one of my favorite things I've ever drawn that's just come straight out of my imagination. I actually have restarted drawing this one in my current sketchbook because I don't love this character. I've reverted to my bad nose drawings, but yeah, this one I absolutely love. I have started to redraw her. And this is actually the same character. And yeah, I think it's a pretty successful replication from the last one. And this guy, if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I love to draw these clown characters, and this was the first ever clown character that I drew. He's obviously much lighter, not as shaded as the current ones that I draw now. But yeah, this is the original. This is where it all started. Yeah, I've definitely taken a lot of inspiration from this one recently. And here is one of the most important drawings I would ever say that I've done. I've mentioned this one on the channel a few times before. This was a drawing that I kept going back and forth to as I was developing this style that I talk about working in all the time. And yeah, this drawing probably took me about 1 or 2 years to complete. I would try a new shading technique and I would do it on this one, and then I would end up not liking it and developing it a little further on other drawings, and then I would go back to this one and add the new type of shading that I had worked out. But yeah, this drawing was a lot of back and forth. It was a lot of trial and error. But yeah, love this drawing a lot. One of my favorite drawings ever. This next drawing is another one that I did of Tovlo, and I wrote myself a little pep talk here because I really hated this drawing at the time. Looking back on it now, I really don't think it's bad, and I think I needed to take it a little bit easy on myself with this one because this drawing is not as bad as I remember it. There are way worse, I'm sure. Ooh, ripped that. This, I think I was sitting in my grandparents' garden and there was a pansy there and I just started to draw the pansy. Down here, we've got another character for my head, and I do actually really like the tears of this one. Another cigarette. Love to draw people smoking. I don't know why. I think it's just a small, easy action you can add into drawings, but yeah, got a reclining nude here, and this is a song lyric that I don't know how successfully I changed from the masculine to the feminine, but it basically means the woman is a city that I visit with my fingertips. And then this drawing to go with that last song lyric, this is a drawing of the French singer Pomme, and the woman is a fingertip song, whatever, I don't know, that is her song. So I was really into listening to Tovlo and French music at the time of this sketchbook, and yeah. This one is another attempt at an original character drawing. It's a girl obviously sitting on a fire escape, and I wrote the song lyric, "Honey, do you think of me when you're blowing bubbles through your window?" So this was obviously my interpretation of that song lyric. It's a song lyric from The Big Moon. So the trend is British girl bands, Tovlo, and French music in this sketchbook so far. That's what I was listening to through COVID. More British music. This is a little portrait I did of Marika Hackman, and I started it too low on the page and I liked her boots. So this is the bottom half of the drawing and this is the top half of the drawing, just kind of mixed up. And this is a little rough sketch I did of my mom napping with a baby. That is not me. I think that's my cousin, but I thought it was a really cute picture. This one is a drawing that I did of Harry Styles. It's very experimental in the styles that I was trying to do the shading, but I wasn't a big fan of how this drawing ended up turning out. It was always kind of one I wanted to redo again, like everything else that I do, because I love his hands in this picture. Harry Styles, I always thought I had only drawn twice, but I forget about this one. I've drawn him 3 times. But yeah, love Harry Styles. Another attempt at drawing an original character type of thing. I was obviously wanting to play around with drawing someone with a lot of tattoos. I think with all of these original character drawings, I've really stepped away from that and I haven't done it in a long time, and I feel like I can't do it anymore. But a lot of what I did was really successful, and it's something that I definitely want to revive, and I could see myself trying to do something like this in a video at some point on this channel. I think I took for granted how actually good I was at doing these original characters, and now I'm really out of practice, but I want to start doing more of this again because I always had a lot of fun with it. This is a spread that I absolutely love. It's from the Big Moon's music video for The Road, and they're just kind of panning across these little booths, and every time they go to a new one, somebody in the band is doing something different. So this is their drummer, Fern, and it pans across her booths, and in one of them, she's holding up a bag with a goldfish in it, and in the next one, she is drinking the bag of water that the goldfish was in. So I wanted to draw those 2 different scenes and drew 2 very scared goldfish just staring in horror at what she's doing. And yeah, all of it, I really love this spread. I think it's super fun and silly. This you can definitely see is the style that I'm working with now. Here is a drawing that I have replicated and copied and redone multiple times. I love this one. I think this was something that I had Googled drawing prompts, and one of the prompts that came up was draw a skeleton of a fruit, and the best fruit I could think of for that was a pear. But yeah, this idea evolved over time. The original wasn't a very good drawing, but I think now I've really gotten it to the point that I'm happy with, and I love redrawing it. I think it's really cool, and it's probably the only drawing that I've ever done that I would actually consider getting tattooed on me. And here is Harry again. I was actually looking at this drawing recently, and I think that this is one of the best portraits I've ever done. I don't know why it ended up turning out as successfully as it did. I think it's got a lot to do with the picture itself, and probably the fact that I think it's film photography photo, but the shadows, everything, pumping my own tires, but like, I think I really, really nailed this drawing. I love this drawing. I think this is genuinely one of the best drawings I've ever done, and it would get ripped out if it wasn't on the back of something else. Another original character, really like this one. I'm so sorry for all the smoking and crying that's going on in this sketchbook. I warned about some cringe, but yeah, it's a lot. So this was a drawing that was going to say she loves me not. Another, I think, really successful facial expression. I really underestimated myself with these original characters, and now that I want to get back into it, I'm really intimidated by some of my old drawings, and I don't know that I'm going to be as good as I was right away. I'm going to have to work myself back up to the skill level I had with these guys. And then some more early font work that I did. This one's a bit dramatic, but I still like it. I think I did a good job on it. This next one, if you are wondering what I'm covering up with sticky notes, it's either a signature that I did so you can see my name, or it's cringe. Just straight up, it's cringy. But this is a drawing I did of Kate Winslet as Marianne Dashwood in Sense and Sensibility. So a little bit more Jane Austen in this sketchbook. And this next drawing I really love also. It's a scene from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, which I think I would say is one of my favorite movies. It's very Toronto and I love it a lot. But I don't know what he writes in the fridge magnets. I think it just says everything sucks, but I changed it to my favorite line in the movie, which is I'm in lesbians with you. This one was a self-portrait that I did when I thought that I wasn't going to share my face in any of my content. And yeah, if you watched my 2026 art goals, you'll know that Doing a self-portrait is one of my goals for this year, so we'll see how my new self-portrait changes from this one where I'm completely covering my face. And then the last one that I'm going to show for this video is this little Cupid guy that I drew, and this is the preliminary to all of the other Cupids that I have drawn. This guy was the first one, obviously by the Roman numeral there. But yeah, I haven't drawn one of these guys in a long time, but I did really enjoy drawing them, and I'm sure one day I'll get back into it, but just haven't really had the inspiration recently. And yeah, this is the last guy in this sketchbook. I hope you enjoyed seeing the journey I have been on with my art, and it was a lot of fun to share these old drawings. I am a lot more impressed with myself than I expected to be. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. Take care, and you'll see me in the next one.